Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Hammer Down Creations coming to you with another video. So we're going to shift it up a little bit since we're down here in Florida. The trailer build has come to a stop, mostly based off of the weather. It's about 95 degrees outside right now, and in the garage here, I have AC. So behind me, you can see there's a golf cart. Didn't have one of those while we were up in Maine. Once we got down here, we decided riding around in the neighborhood and utilizing the golf cart at the campgrounds would probably be our next priority. Getting it running at least so we can go toting around a little bit at nighttime, during the day, whatever it is. So we got this golf cart for free. So my wife's grandfather had it sitting in his carport for several years. Battery died. It's a 2006 EZGO TXT. So the PDS version. Right now it doesn't have any batteries in it, but the batteries were dead when he delivered it over here to the house. So I have ordered a new lithium battery for it, as well as a Navitas motor and Navitas motor controller. Those should be here hopefully sometime later on this week, but we did get some parts in already. Just wanted to make this first video so we could take a look at it before we get started, so we can see where we're starting off at and where we end up at. So a couple other things that with this golf cart. So he did bring 7 tires for it. Unfortunately, one of them was flat when it got here, so ended up having to swap those around. As of right now, the tires and rims are one thing that I haven't ordered yet. Still trying to decide on what size we want to get for the rims and for the tires themselves. I did order a 6-inch drop axle kit for it, so it is going to go up in the air a little bit. I figured while we have everything ripped apart, we might as well throw the suspension on there because it would be easier to get to all the bolts and everything. All right, let's do a little quick walk around. All right, so here we go. As we can see, it's kind of a banana yellow kind of color. Not the most ideal in the world, but we do have a wrap kit. I'll show you here in a minute. It's got a little bit of damage there on the front. I'm assuming that was from a previous golf course or something. Maybe had their branding on there and they ripped it off. So all that drop axle is going to get swapped out. I did order a headlight kit for it, as well as the tail lights and turn signals and everything. So we're going to be getting those swapped out. As I said before, the tires and wheels will probably be getting changed out eventually. Just haven't decided what we want to go with yet. So the seats do have a little bit of mold on them, as you can see right there on the back rest seat. Got a little bit there on the bottom. I did, unfortunately, when we moved down here, I got rid of all my gas before we moved. So I went to go use the pressure washer and then realized that I didn't have any gas in it. So I was unable to pressure wash the seat covers, but eventually we'll get back to that. I did buy some actual seat covers to go over the top of these. As you can see right here on the back seat, the wood for it actually was completely rotted out and almost fell apart when I took it off. So we're going to have to replace the wood on that. Probably going to order a new floor mat for it, just to spruce it up a little bit. As you can see, we got the key right there. The forward and reverse switch has been moved up to the dash. Dash is going to need a little bit of work. Still some stuff inside of here, some old coins and stuff, and some more dirt that needs to get cleaned out. But I think that that'll at least happen on the next pressure washing. Like I said, I did wash it off a little bit. I sprayed it down with some Simple Green and gave it a nice little wash down. All right, so you can see here on the rear seat on the backrest as well, does have some cuts and everything. Looks like it's a little dry rotted up there, so I'm sure there was some water that got into there. We'll find out a little bit more once we take the backrest off. Probably going to take the roof off as well. That might be one of the first things that I do, just so we can get some easier access. So this rear passenger seating area is kind of old, so it's not one of the plastic ones or aluminum. It's a steel. So you can see down here we got a little bit of rust on the grab rail, as well as you see it's got a little bit of a movement to it. So we might have to take that out, shore it up, or just get a different grab rail to throw on there. Back down here, there's no fancy cooler or anything like that. It's just the original tub for where the golf cart would haul around the golf clubs in the back. So yeah, that's pretty much it for the golf cart as it sits right now. We do have a nice triangle on the back. We'll see if we upgrade this to a street legal cart here in the future. Right now we're just really trying to get it running so we can ride it around the neighborhood and have some fun on it. A quick rundown of the parts that we got over here. So this is the drop axle kit for the 6-inch lift. Got the rear brackets right here, as well as some 3-spring heavy-duty rear leafs, as well as all the hardware for that. Do a quick little video of how worn down the old leaf springs are, and those are the 2-leaf factory pack. So right here is the charging port with adapters, so we can just hook a normal extension cord up to it. Right here we have the 48 volt to 12 volt converter, because I will be running a 48 volt lithium battery. This is the kit for the wrap, so this is just to assist putting it on. I've never done a wrap before, so we'll see how interesting that gets. I do have a rivet kit right here for once the cart starts going back together. On top right here, I still haven't unboxed, just got it today, is the light kit. So that comes with the front and rear lights, turn signals, turn signal lever, the horn, as well as the headlight switch, and I believe that's it. As you can see right here, we've got some seat covers. So that is not the color that we're going to be going with. I believe it's black with black stitching, or it might be black with gray stitching. I still haven't unboxed that yet. In this box right here is the roof canopy kit. So I ended up going with a soft kit, one for price. I think it was about a third of the price as any hardtop extended kits. And then also I've heard a lot of good reviews on these, so we went ahead and went with the soft kit. If we don't want to use that, then we can upgrade that in the future. And then over here is a wrap kit. So I went with 5 by 15 foot wrap. This is I believe the company is Vivid. Yeah, so it's a Vivid Ultra Gloss Candy Purple. So go ahead and throw that on there after we get everything taken apart, and hopefully the wrap turns out all right. Like I said, I've never wrapped anything before. I heard the rear fender right here, as well as the going around the battery tray, is kind of difficult, so we're going to see how that works. I might end up just cutting it into 2 separate pieces, starting right here and then running it up to the center of the battery tray, or starting at the center of the battery tray and coming to the rear. But we'll see how well the front goes, and then we'll go from there. So I'll show you real quick how blown out the rear leaf springs are. These are the factory 2 leafs, but this golf cart is taking some beatings. So this is me just standing here on the back corner, and as you can see, I mean, I'm sure if I jumped on it hard enough, the rear of this cart would be slamming the ground and probably chip the concrete, but I could definitely feel the front tire also coming off the ground. So looking down inside of the battery compartment, you can see this seat right here, the wood is not too terrible. Definitely had a little bit of water on it, but sitting here in the garage, it's starting to finally dry out a little bit. The other one, I got a video of that, and I mean, if I looked at it wrong, it just fell apart. So a lot of carts you see the battery tray is actually destroyed. This one actually doesn't look too bad. All right, so first things first, this is the rear bottom seat, and it is completely destroyed. So it smells pretty bad. It's rotten, super wet. So I'm gonna go ahead and take some measurements of this and get that wood thrown away. We'll keep the foam on the inside, but everything else has got to go. All right, so we got 36.5 on this end. And then 15 inches wide. So we'll go ahead and throw this rotten piece away so it stops smelling up the garage, and cut out a new one. All right, so as you can see, so this is the wood there that was broken up into 3 different sections. This is the foam. I'm probably gonna end up trying to clean that, just wash it and then let it dry out in the sun. Hopefully we can save that. And then also the top vinyl needs to go because it's also pretty nasty, and we got the covers to replace it. But yeah, this is mostly going into the trash and then hopefully getting cleaned up. All right, so these cushions are pretty nasty. So I'm gonna fill up this tub right here, throw them in there, throw a little power purple in there, see if we can clean them up a little bit. So we got it all sudsed up. Push this down, close the lid, probably let it soak for a whole day, and then get it out and pressure wash it. Just getting a little bit of light down here. As I said, some of these are completely rusted through. There's a lot of surface rust on these, but I definitely think it's salvageable and usable. So I'm gonna go ahead and not really mess with that. As we get down here, you can see the rear axle right there, motor. I'll do some more videos so we can see that, but as you can see, not in the best shape ever, but definitely not the worst that I've ever seen. Just a quick look underneath before we actually get started ripping this thing apart. So there you can see the bottom of the battery tray again. Not the best, not the worst. It's definitely spent a little bit of time off-road. You can see all those cuts and scrapes on there, but definitely still salvageable. So the first thing that I want to do is pull this rear seat off. I think it'll give it a little bit better look, also be a little bit cleaner, easier to clean it, and then also give me some more access to other things that I need to get to. I'm going to start by pulling these 2 top bolts right here. All right, so hopefully this thing doesn't come tumbling down on me. All right, I'm gonna leave that bolt in there just as a little bit of extra support. So we got 4 bolts running through the frame back here. Look to be not too bad to get to. Not too bad to get to, just a little awkward. So the whole thing did in fact come tumbling down as I took the last bolt out as expected. Let's see if we can shimmy it out of here now. Oh yeah. Just lost like 100 pounds. Next thing on the list, I'm gonna pop this canopy off. Again, trying to loosen a little bit of load right now. So we got 2 bolts on each side on the rear of the frame. As you could probably see up there in the front, there's 2 more on each side attached to the front fenders. This back here looks like it can just drop down onto the bracket. Should hold it in place for now, so I can take the front off. All right, hold this up a little bit. Hopefully it's not too heavy. Note to self, next time take the canopy off first. So that definitely won't come off unless this canopy is in 2 parts. Oops. Hey now. All right. Speed racing. Looks like we found some hidden treasure. That right there is a 4-million-year-old cigarette that just fell out of this golf cart. So now that we got the roof off, I'm going to try and pull these rear seats off. Not too sure if they have nuts on the bottom, but we're about to find out. That one doesn't. Neither does that one. Perfect. So we're going to pop these last 2 out. At least this one can't come crashing down on my head. Easy day. So I'm not sure if these steering wheels are keyed at all, but I did put a little score right there just so I can get everything back into the orientation that it was before. Did seem to be nice and tight on the steering, so hopefully shouldn't have to make too many adjustments or replace any parts. So I think we'll end right here for today. Got a lot of stuff taken off already. It's already pretty late. It's like 8:30. So I'm going to go ahead and give it a stop. A lot of stuff from here on out is pulling some rivets out for all the body panels. And then also for the seat, apparently, so this side is riveted in. However, this side's bolted. So I'm assuming the holes on that side are blown out. I guess we'll see once we start taking it apart. All right, till tomorrow. All right, so we're gonna spray a little RMR 86 on this, see if it helps out at all. All right, so we can see half of it's done. Side that's closer to me, slightly better. Maybe not great, but a little bit better. All right, we'll see what it does on this side. I don't know if it can pick it up on camera, but it's definitely changing the color a little bit of it. Still a little bit wet, but looks 1,000 times better. Definitely worth it. All right, we're gonna see if this little impact driver can bust this nut off of here for the steering wheel. Sure enough. Starting day 2 off with a small parts upgrade. I guess you could say a large parts upgrade. So we received the motor controller, some wiring harnesses, some battery cables, and then a 5.12 kilowatt hour battery from DC House. I got this one off of Amazon. It was on sale. And then all of these were ordered from Plum Quick. I'll break down what each one is as we're going through and installing. But like I said, ordered through Plum Quick, arrived here in about 2 days. So the start of day 2, quick update. So I did pull the steering wheel off just so the seat can open up so I can actually take these rivets out over here on this side and then take the bolt and nut off on that side. I did get the canopy taken off, the roof, got the rear seat taken off, and I'll give you another update. I got the update on the RMR 86 spray down of the rear seat for the passenger seat that was pretty much destroyed with some dry rot on the wood and some mold on the actual foam. So we'll go ahead. I think we're just gonna do some quick work today, get all these rivets drilled out, and then pull this body off, pull the seat off, and then probably either today or tomorrow get it out and pressure wash it again. Not sure how many rivets are on here. I know there's a bunch. We're going to go ahead and just hit the ones that I can see at first, and then if we have to, look up a diagram, see if we can pop all the rest of these little plastic clips off so we can find the rest of them. We're going to try a smaller drill bit. Probably just could have unplugged those and pulled them off. Pulled the whole body panel off. Getting quite the collection of rivets. I'm going to go ahead and pull this seat off of here now, just to get it out of the way. Leave one of those in there so it'll be easier to hold on to. We already know that the other side, or sorry, the roof pretty much fell on top of me, so that was fun. Uh-oh. Drill bit came loose. Alright, seat's out. Oh, I guess it just lifts off. Wish I would have known that. I'm gonna drill out the charger faceplate right here too, since we already have a replacement for that. Pop this off. Probably just end up snipping those wires. Go ahead and pull these kick plates off. I think they're hiding some more rivets too. Probably the only thing on here that isn't rusted is aluminum. Almost. Nope. Yep. Maybe. Oh, alright. A lot of dirt coming off this thing. Oh, there we go. A couple more rivets. Oh, all the way across the floor, huh? Just a couple more rivets up under this floor mat right here. That one wasn't even in there. A couple more rivets we'll drill out, go across the tub here. Alright, grab the smaller drill bit. Try this. Oh, that didn't work. Third time's a charm. Well, that one went through. Gonna go ahead and clip these. I said we got a new charger for it anyways. Make it easier to take this apart. So take this black panel off back here. Again, this is just to clean it up and probably get some more access. We got 1, 2, 3, 4 of the star bits. So up here we got a bunch of these plastic clips. So I'm gonna go ahead and try and pull these out with the trim tool here. See how it works. So I forgot to start recording, but this bumper's got a couple of these little black tabs on here. Looks like there's four 4 bolts across the side, and then 2 rivets, across the back, and then 2 rivets on each side. Maybe pull this cover off. It seems like it might be just a couple of rivets behind here that are holding the rest of this rear body on. Alright, so we got all those rivets detached on the side or drilled out on the side, so we'll pop these off. There it goes. I see. So it looks like those right there might be some of our last rivets to get out. The tub is now completely loose. Go ahead and tuck this other taillight in. Should be able to just lift this guy off here. Maybe. Man, this thing is dirty. So now you can see a little bit of dirt, extra dirt, with the top taken off of it. Definitely gonna need another pressure washing. Like I said though, these battery trays are not terrible. You can salvage it. Might be able to just throw a 2x6, maybe a 2x8 inside of there to hold the battery down. But it should work. Alright, getting started on another day. I just want to get this thing outside so I can pressure wash it and then hopefully clean up the garage a little bit. So I know we got these 2 down here. I'm not sure. Oh, that looks like those might have been the last 2. Should have just done those yesterday. So those were the last 2 rivets, with the exception of down here behind the EZGO emblem on the front. It looks like it's riveted to this piece of rubber or plastic right here. Might just end up cutting that off. Doesn't look like it provides too much support anyways. Alright, so we got that cut. Go ahead and pull this off, see what it looks like. Just about as dirty as the rest of it. Well, I guess now we can at least get it outside, get it pressure washed, get it cleaned up on the underside. I'll probably dust it off, at least to get all these metal shavings from all the old rivets and stuff off of here before I put all that stuff into my driveway. Alright, let's get it cleaned up. I'm going to get the pressure washer fired up and then we'll get started. Well, that didn't sound good. Let's try to give this thing a fire, see if it'll start back up. All right. Huh. Maybe that's a sign. All right, so as you can see, it's 1,000 times better. All that mud that was caked up in here is all gone. I know a lot of these parts are going to be ripping off anyways, but I figured I'd just spray them down. As you can see, the ground is just absolutely covered in mud. All the mud that was up here on the suspension is all gone. There were some mud daubers in there. Those are all gone. Not sure what's going on with that tape right there. I know I could have pulled this panel off, cleaned under there. I think it looks pretty decent. All that's cleaned up. Sprayed down the battery tray, trying to clean that up a little bit. Sprayed the motor down. As you saw, the pressure washer shut off on me twice. Not sure exactly what's going on there. It's never done that before. But axle got a little bit cleaned up. So we'll let it dry out here in the sun for a little bit, and then probably do some cleaning in the garage and then roll it back in. So you can see all of the dirt that has fallen off of the golf cart just from having it in here and taking a couple panels off. Still a couple of nuts and bolts on the ground that we got to scoop up. We're going to go ahead and get this cleaned up and probably reorganize some of the stuff in the garage just to make some more room in here. All right, let's get to it. So as you can see, it's a pretty large pile of dirt there. It's probably about 3 inches deep. At least got somewhat of a more open space around here now, so we can roll the golf cart back in, get back to work on it. So I did find these when I was cleaning everything up. I'm not exactly sure where they fell from. So if you do know, please let me know in the comments. Here's my little collection of rivets that I had to pull off of every single drill bit. Just to grab how much dirt actually came off of this thing after pressure washing. Quite disgusting. Hopefully this pressure washer fires back up so I can clean this off. So I was thinking about doing the suspension first, but I think that because I don't have the shocks yet, I'll probably just go ahead and get the old motor and motor controller removed. That way it will also be a little bit easier for me to move the axle around once I get the leaf springs unattached from the axles. So first things first, I think I'm gonna pop this cover off right here. I did watch the video on the Plum Quick YouTube channel. It was very informative, so I'm gonna go ahead and pop this one off. I think there's some other unnecessary wires in here that we could probably get rid of. So this is a 10mm bolt right here. Alright, there's a small wire down here for the run toe switch. So you just press that little tab right there, pull it right off. Wires don't look to be in too bad a shape, or the connectors that connect them. Some of the cables running back to the, looks like to the battery, might be a little rusted on those terminals, but I think we got all new hardware that runs to the solenoid. Oh, that cable has a big cut in it. Alright, well, let's start taking this apart. I'm gonna go grab that adapter cable, see where I need to hook things up. So this is the, let's see here, get that focused in there. So this is the adapter cable that I ordered from the PlumQuick website. It's for a 36 volt to 48 volt for the PDS. So I'm gonna pop these off of here just to see which one goes to where. This looks like it might be like a main harness. No, that one doesn't fit. That runs back to the motor. That must be the speed controller for it. So maybe this one's unused or goes to something else. I'll have to find that out. Alright, let's pop these two off. Let's see where they run to. Looks like those also run back to the motor. This one definitely runs back. Alright, let's go ahead and pop these other ones off here. Cut this zip tie down here so we can start pulling stuff back to the motor. Yeah, so this wiring harness right here looks like it runs up forward. That one right to the battery. And this one goes to the battery. So this must be positive to the battery. The other one was negative right into the battery. Alright, so all these run back to the motor. Just pop those off later. And hold on to that. It's like a little diode. They said we don't reuse that. These posts aren't very clearly labeled, so we might have to look that up and see what goes where. We'll go ahead and pop this old solenoid off of here, maybe. This cable runs out to the original charger, which I don't think we'll need that at all. Now I'll pop this cover off of here. Actually, let's take this guy off first. Take this solenoid off. Oh, maybe not. This thing just stuck on there. Yep. I'm gonna hit this with a little bit of wire brush before we throw the new Navitas motor controller on there. So as far as the solenoid goes, I'm gonna pull this old one off of here. Might reuse this bracket. It looks like there might be somewhere that I can mount it just forward to the motor controller. Fits perfect. I think this orientation, we can have it facing where the prongs are facing towards the motor controller. Alright, then we'll just set this off to the side for now. So for the run toe switch, now we got to pull this off of here. The new Navitas controller mount does have an extra bracket that this can attach to off to the side. So I'll try to keep it somewhat near the factory location, or maybe just put it down a little bit lower. Just screws right off, pops out of there, and again we'll just hold on to this for now, set it off to the side until we're ready to throw everything back together. So I was being dumb earlier. This run toe switch actually just clips in right here to this adapter that goes to the factory wiring harness. So we'll just set that on there, and then got the single connector right there that runs to the motor controller. All right, we're going to go ahead and pull this motor out of here. I'm sure it's about to be heavy. I know we got to reuse these bolts that run into the side here. I think there's 3 of them. One right here, one on the top, one down in the back. I'll pull the one in the back off first, and then probably this one right here, so I can hold the cable so we can lift this thing out of here. Well, I guess it's not going to fall if it's stuck on the splines at all. Oh yeah, she's on there. Might have to give this thing a little tap. All right, let's see if this works. Nope. All right, let's try this again. Jeez. Well, you can see why it wasn't coming off there. Thing's quite rusty. All right, let's pull it out. I'm gonna try and clean these threads up just a little bit. Like I said, they were pretty rusty. I know the new motor has a little bit of grease on the inside because I stuck my finger all in it. Whew, I'm still sweating from pulling that thing off. As you could tell, the size of my hammer got bigger and bigger, and then I had to get the pry bar and then get a second pry bar and some more hammering, but it eventually came off. It doesn't look too bad. So as you can see, there is some rust here on the rear bumper. Obviously some rust on the leaf springs, but those are all getting swapped out. A little bit on the axles, and then the battery frame up there, plus where the rear seats mount up right there, that rear cross member a little bit. Like I said, the battery tray right there. So I think I'm gonna hit this with a little bit of wire brush real quick, and then take it outside, probably leaf blow it off, a couple more spots down there. And then I might just throw some quick Rust-Oleum paint on there to, 1, make it look a little bit better, and then 2, hopefully prevent any more rust from getting on here. Well, there it is, a little bit sanded down with the wire brush. I would have liked to get a little bit more out of the pressure washing, but for some reason it kept shutting off on me. So we'll go with this for now, get a little bit of black paint on there, and then start working on the suspension. Well, you probably won't believe it, but my phone died recording me hitting this thing with some spray paint. As you can see, it pretty much just hit everything. About 2 cans of spray paint, just cleaning everything up. I didn't spray the leaf springs because obviously those are getting replaced. Kind of did a little bit of navy painting. So once for dust, twice for rust. But everything that was a little bit rusty or faded, scratched up, it's got a little bit of coat of paint on it. Did the rocker panels all the way up here in the front. Then kind of sprayed everywhere down there except for the steering shaft there. But sprayed the front leaf springs. Touched up a couple of spots up here that had a little bit of rust on it just to prevent any further rust. Same thing. Rocker panels on this side. I put the cover back on for this heat shrink right here. But yeah, turned out all right. I think go ahead and get jacked up and at least do the rear suspension for now. The shocks will be here tomorrow, so we'll be able to throw those on. I know for the driver's side, shock has to be removed to get the 5 kilowatt Navitas motor into it anyway, so we'll go ahead and just pull the shocks off now and then throw them on when they get here tomorrow. All right, so this is the orientation that appears in the instruction manual to install the TXT. I don't know if it's because it's a 48 volt conversion or not, but this plate does not align with any of these holes in any other orientation. So I think I'm gonna screw that one in and then maybe just pick 2 other holes, drill them through, and then use the other screws and just tap it into place. All right, so we got the 1 screw in. As you can see, none of the other holes are aligned. So I'm gonna get out the drill bit and drill some holes. All right, we'll leave that right there until I get the other one drilled out. Well, we just missed all that, but got all 3 screws put in. This one kind of sticks out a little bit, but should be all right. Enough to hold it on there. It's pretty sturdy. All right, so next step, we're gonna throw the controller on. Seen a lot of people doing it in the opposite direction as the instructions. I don't think really matters. It's just preference. Seen some people say that they didn't want any water getting down in these connectors, which I agree with. Don't know if it would make a huge deal, but we'll throw it on this way. And we'll also throw on the run toe switch right here. I'm gonna leave the rest of those 4 loose so I can get all these screwed in first. Of course, it doesn't screw in that well. All right, tighten these down. That run toe in the right spot. Snug it down a little bit. think it said 10 Newton meters to tighten these down. I don't know exactly how much that is, nor do I have a torque wrench that would go down to that. All right, well, that's probably good enough. All right, so now we're going to get the cables run to the battery. Got these protective boots right here. Slide these on here first. Then for each one of these, for now, we'll just throw a random cable on there. Getting it hooked up though later on, gonna have to pay attention to which cable is which. Make sure we go into the right orientation. So there's a nut, washer, the lock washer. Take the lock washer and washer off. Throw washer back on. Then the lock washer, and then throw the nut back on there. Wait till we tighten those down. To throw the boot over the top. It's been raining all day here, so it's very muggy outside right now. But I guess that's Florida for you. Pull the last one off. Of course, you want to make sure that it's down in that direction. So if you have it flipped over, it will bend this connector right here. Or has the potential at least. Uh-oh. Yep. I'm sure these have a torque spec on them too, but a couple of Ugga-Duggas would probably be good. Try to get them as straight as possible coming out. This is not an actual impact, it's just an impact driver. Alright, so trace these back. First one we got right here is the U cable. Got them run down behind the motor controller just to clean it up in here a little bit. Again, I'll throw these in here loosely. I think it matters more on this side that the battery cable lug there is flat. Put them in loose at first, like I said. And then we got the V cable next. Got them run through the wire run back there, but I do think that they should be a little bit loose just for suspension flex. Make sure it doesn't pull into those cables super tight. Probably want to run this one down here and then straight up. It's not too terrible of an angle, so go ahead and throw that in there. On this kit specifically, the R port right here is not used, so we'll have to get the battery plus and battery negatives hooked up. I should leave enough room for the battery plus cable to come out just fine. Alright, so these are the ones that have the 10 Newton meter stamped right there, so I'm assuming that's what these are for. I'm sure that's just a 1/4 inch ratchet tight. I'd hate to break one of these off. That probably set us back a little bit. Feels pretty good. Lock washers are all nice and compressed. Nothing too tight, nothing too loose. Go ahead and pop these a little bit loose just so we can pull them off next time with the hand. So I'm not sure why they stopped the protective layer on this cable all the way back here. So I threw this wire loom on there and just taped it up real quick just to protect it since it is down by the rear axle. And we're going to go ahead and throw this guy on, route it up, get it plugged in. Alright, so we got that all connected up. Just ran it up here, plugged into the side of the motor controller right there. Probably going to take some zip ties and just clean this up a little bit. But that's the motor and motor controller for now. Alright, so real quick we're going to cut these battery tabs off just so we can slide the new battery in. I think I'm going to set it back here just so we have this empty space below the seat. And we got the heavy duty spring, so it should be able to handle the weight shifted back a little bit. I threw a new blade on there. So it looks like this might be the orientation that it has to go in. I wanted to put it in the back, but we can go ahead and put it in the front. See the mounting holes down there don't exactly line up. They do right there, however the brace goes across the middle right there. So what I might do for now is just put some self-tappers here in the back and then maybe do the old ratchet strap method. Bring it around the front right here and just ratchet strap it down. Then I'll probably put some wood across the floor in there just to make it look a little bit cleaner. So today we're going to start out with getting this solenoid mounted up. So there's a hole right there, a hole right there. Like I said, this is the previous bracket that was used. I think once I get the cables hooked up, probably going to try and throw the original plastic cover over it just to protect it a little bit better. So we're going to go ahead and get that mounted up and then probably run some cables up and then start hooking it up. So now that that's on there, I'm going to take this wiring harness right here Just run these cables up underneath of here, just to keep it a little bit cleaned up. Like I said, I'll probably use that original plastic cover that I took off the motor controller to cover this up eventually. I need to get these three cables, so the red, the blue, and the yellow, hooked up to the solenoid. Run tow switch is going to go up top, and then this is going to plug into the motor controller. So again, I'm not sure why, but a lot of these harnesses and everything had like half of the protective cover around them, so I went ahead and put some more loom on them, threw some more electrical tape on them just to keep them less exposed and hopefully not have one of these cables break on me. Alright, so the first cable I'm going to hook up is going to be just the one that goes here to the motor controller. Just pops into place. I think you can see, yeah, that's the part number for the 36 volt to 48 volt conversion. So if you look, just enough room right here to hook up the rest of these cables. So I'll probably have this tucked down over here a little bit, and then run these cables up right here. And then I'll take the run tow switch and I'll run it down on the outside, and then bring it up here to the actual connector, or sorry, the actual bracket. Alright, so we took the nut off the top, which has got the little rubber boot on. Take that, slide it in there. Looks like it's only got one orientation that it could possibly go in. Slide the rubber boot back on and get the nut on there and tighten it down. Alright, so we got the yellow and blue cables hooked up. So the blue is going to be right here, closest to the bracket. Yellow is going to be on the top. The red, which I did have to put a new connector on here, is going to go on this side. I'm going to throw the cable on there first so it gets a better connection. Alright, so we got the other two cables hooked up. So this cable right here is going to run up to the positive on the battery. I got this one run, loops down right here into the B plus on the motor controller, and then I went ahead and hooked this one up to the motor controller as well. That's the B negative. That's going to run up here to the negative port on the battery. Alright, so now we got the reed cable right here that went to the original charger. Gonna have to put a connector on here, and then I believe it hooks up to the positive port on the battery. Alright, so I'm going to try and explain this converter and relay setup. I did watch the video on the Fentertainment page where he goes much more in depth, but we'll try to explain it in simple terms that at least I understood finally. So these are going to go to your actual load, so the original 12 volt power supply and ground on the cart. So the yellow is going to be your positive, black is going to be negative. So the black cable coming out right here, so I put a connector on that. It's going to go to the ground on the battery, and then the red is going to run out here to this relay, and it's going to connect to the red, and then the black cable right here is going to go to the positive terminal on the battery. The yellow I extended out, so it's pretty long. It's going to run up to the power for the key switch, and then this white wire right here is also going to run up to the ground on the battery. So essentially what's going to happen is the cart gets turned on, So the yellow wire is going to receive voltage and is going to switch this relay. So the power is going to come in through here. When the key is on, it's going to pass over to this, supplying the voltage to this, which is going to convert it from 48 volts. So 48 volts, skinnier cables, down to 12 volts for the original voltage of the cart through the thicker cables. Please let me know if that doesn't make sense. I can try to explain it a little bit better, at least as far as I know. All right, so we got the converter. Kind of just placed it down here for now. Thinking about mounting it up here on this rail. We got the previous positive cable running over here to the green cable, and then the ground cable is right here, ran to the black cable from before. Got this cable, like I said before, ran to the relay, with the other side coming out into the positive terminal. Then the negative running into the white wire. The yellow wires ran underneath all the way up front. I'll probably clean that up a little bit, at least get it zip tied in. Then I went ahead and put the positive cable on with the supporting accessories, as well as the negative cable. So we're going to see if she's running here soon. Well, as you can see, we got a different orientation of the golf cart, and there's a seat on it, and maybe somewhat of a resemblance of a passenger seat. So I got everything hooked up, and I was a little too anxious and took her out for a rip. So I threw the Navitas controller down there just for now, just so I could adjust it a little bit. First run, I took it out, got it up to 24 miles an hour, and then I went ahead and downloaded the app and everything, did the unlock on the app to release the rest of the speed, and got it to 35 miles an hour. So that was verified on GPS. So now for this long weekend, we'll probably just take it around the neighborhood, rip it around, and then maybe Saturday or Sunday I'll start tearing into the front end. Still gotta do some more cleaning up here in the garage, but I want to get all this stuff taken out, pressure washed, painted up a little bit, and then probably start throwing everything back together. A quick rundown of the parts that we got over here. So this is the drop axle kit for the 6-inch lift. Got the rear brackets right here, as well as some 3-spring heavy-duty rear leafs. You can see down in there, the bushings for the rear leaf springs are pretty much non-existent. Same thing for both sides, at least for the bottom, they're completely gone. Good thing we went with the heavy duty. All right, so for these here on the rear, you got 15 on both sides, bolt and nut. I think we gotta reuse these bolts, so we'll hold on to them. And the shackles themselves, I believe we have to reuse. That one came out pretty easy. Yeah, that bushing just disintegrated. So probably gonna have to clean up on the inside of here, as that old one's definitely still in there. Oh yeah. That was the 19 millimeter. All right, now we're gonna pop the 4 U-bolt nuts off. So that's 9/16. I use a deep well because they're pretty long. I'm gonna pop these shocks off now from the bottom first. And then the top. So one thing I just noticed, so I replaced this after I cleaned it out. It's the bushing for the shackle on the rear, but they did not send me enough bushings for the entire leaf pack. So now I gotta order some more of those. All right, so I got the first bracket on. It's a huge pain in the butt. That's why I didn't film most of it, but shorter side goes to the front. I saw in another video you had to take the parking brake cable off, but it didn't seem to have to do that because I could reach all of the holes to get the bolts in. So I just went ahead and left it on. All right, so second bracket is on. It's not tightened down yet. Neither is this side. Probably gonna stop for today. Got some trash to take to the curb. And then the shocks will be here tomorrow. Plus we don't have the rest of the bushings for the leaf pack and the shackles, so, and it was getting a little hot. So I'm gonna stop for today, pick back up tomorrow, maybe the next day. All right, so next day we got these brackets all tightened down. Like I said, I was able to get a socket onto the bottom over there, so I'm not too sure what they meant by taking the parking brake cable off. But might find out later that I missed something and then I got to take it all back apart. But for right now, she's all attached. All right, so I went ahead and threw the forward bushings in on the leaf springs. And then we got the ones up top put in on both sides. No bushings on the bottom, so we'll just leave that for now. Those will be in tomorrow. But I wanted to get the U-bolts in so we could hook the axle up so that we could get the motor put in and then start on everything else. All right, so leaf springs are installed with the exception of the bushings. We gotta throw the shocks on there. I'll probably do that once I get the motor put in. I think we can go grab that motor and throw it in here. All right, so we're gonna hit this castle nut. I already got it popped loose. I'm gonna hit it with the BFH, see if we can get it to pop out. Like I said, if not, then I'll probably have to wait to get something else to get this unseated, but we'll go ahead and try and hit it with a hammer for now. Got it. Well, got it. This tie rod end definitely needs some help. Doesn't feel too bad. I mean, the boot's not connected at all anymore. Obviously hasn't been greased in a very long time, but it'll do for now. All right, next I'm gonna pop these center links off of the spindles. That way we don't have to worry about it while it's off. Those shouldn't be too bad to pop out of the center link. I'll go ahead and pop the other one off before I hammer it out though. I think my battery's dead. Yep. Now we're just gonna pop this center link out. This one might be stuck in there too. Good Lord. There we go. All right, center link's out. So I'm gonna go ahead and loosen this bolt right here for the spindle. That way it's disconnected from the cross member, or at least loosened from the cross member so it's not moving around as I take it out. Oh yeah. To the other side. So there is a washer on the top and a washer on the bottom, and then there's one on top of the spindle below where the bracket starts. So I'm gonna make sure I put those back in the correct order. Washer and a nut. Bolt and a nut. And like I said, there's a washer on the top here. All right, so it looks like for the leaf pack up here, so you got, the leaf pack to disconnect the cross members. So there's 3 bolts right there holding in. You got 1, 2, 3 for the steering linkage, but then that also is one of the bolts that holds the driver's side leaf spring on. So I think all of these are 5/8, so we'll go ahead and pop those off real quick. The steering is actually connected right here. It's got had that nut right there, 2 washers, another washer, another nut, a spacer, and then the cross member. So go ahead and slide this out. Set it up top for now. Pull this extra spacer off. 2 that were on top. And then let's see what size we got. Of course, not a 5/8, 17 millimeter. Sure where that washer just fell from. Well, the bracket's out. Like I said, we should be loose with the exception of the shocks. And we'll just take the whole thing out, leave the bottom of the shocks mounted to this cross member because I got the new shocks and the new cross member. Alright, so we're gonna pop these shocks off from the top. Hopefully nothing falls down on my toes. We can go ahead and do it slowly though. Should be able to just slide this out. Alright, she's out. So we got the new cross member over here, new shocks. As I said, I'm gonna throw these here shocks on before, just so I can use that as a brace to hold this cross member into place. And it's not the lightest thing in the world, so get it thrown on, take the top nuts off of the shocks, get them put into place, and then get a couple threads on there, and then start making adjustments from there. So these shocks, at least when I did the rear, they came a little bit compressed out of the box, which you would expect. But in the rear, I did have to stretch them out a little bit to get them to fit into place. So hopefully with this, I can get them in there while they're compressed, because it was a little bit tight. And then once I get it up there, I can extend them out if I need to get it to reach up to the top, at least so I can get a couple threads started before I start tightening everything down. I have to check the boxes. Looks like this one over here only had one nut on the bottom. This one here had two. I think every other one did have two. Well, looks like we only got one. I have to see if I can find an extra nut to throw on there so it doesn't fall off. So I found the extra nut. I was hiding in one of the bags, so we'll go ahead and get these tightened up now. Not doing any crazy torquing, just trying to get it to where the bushings are a little bit compressed. I'm calling that good. All right, let's throw this in there. All right, so I took the top set of bushings off, plus the nuts. Let's see if we can slide this guy in there. Hopefully it's not too difficult. I'm already sweating a bunch, so at least now I can pull these shocks a little bit. That one's in there. We'll go ahead and throw this one on real quick. Real loose, so it holds in place. Then I'll stretch the other shock out, throw it in. Tighten the top of the shock mount a little bit. I don't want to tighten it all the way because I want to be able to have a little bit of adjustability to get the leaf springs to line up to the cross member. So go ahead and keep those loose, and then start throwing the leaf springs onto the cross member first. All right, so something I didn't notice before, there's actually a hole in the front, very front of the leaf spring. So you got the two on the side and one in the front right there. So there's a hole in there. So just making sure that that one gets lined up with the leaf spring. So this one right here. And then we'll go ahead and throw the brackets on this side at least, and then set the suspension up there, or sorry, the steering rack up there after that. in. We're just gotta go back and tighten all these back down. Well, knew I was missing something. Forgot to put this one on the driver's side. So we'll pull all this stuff apart. All right, so now that the cross member's on, I'm gonna go ahead and tighten these down. Again, I'm just going to the bushings, compress out a little bit. Should be good to go. Throw these other nuts on there. So now that everything's buttoned up, got the steering rack all tightened down, leaf spring, or sorry, the leaf springs are attached. I should be able to throw these spindles back on, and then we'll get the tie rod placed across, and then get this steering tie rod hooked up as well. So after looking for a while, I was still unable to find any videos of how this bracket right here was attached. I'm pretty sure this is the orientation because it's lifted up. It wants a little bit of extra support. There was nothing hooked up to this originally. This is where the original tie rod from the steering linkage hooked up, and then this will drop down into this part right here. It makes the most logical sense to me. However, the only thing is these bolts, so that one and that one, don't fit through the spindle on either one of these holes. It's pretty close, but I'm gonna go ahead and just drill that out so I don't snap the bolts off. Get those bolted up, hook that tie rod up, and then put the center link tie rod in. All right, so the drop for the tie rod onto the spindle is on. So I drilled out the holes a little bit and then ended up just using the impact driver to hammer these things in. The holes were definitely much smaller than the hardware that was provided. Also, there was a little bit of rust in there. So those are in there now. I got the castle nut put onto the bottom of the tie rod, so we'll get that snugged down. Put the other cross tie rod on, get it adjusted a little bit. And then I think that's it. And then we're throwing the wheels back on. Next step, so we're gonna take these tie rod end links off and just use 2 wrenches to hold one still. Pop the other side off. We'll take these off, throw them onto the new center link tie rod, and throw it back in. One thing that I forgot to mention with this, so just don't forget, one of these ends is reverse thread. So when you're taking it off of the previous tie rod center link, make sure that you don't over tighten it. The center link is on. Still gotta adjust it a little bit. Just make sure you put a 17 millimeter down here and then tighten this down. So one thing I did notice, I just checked for clearance. So the boot up here is rubbing on this bolt. So I'm gonna go ahead and just flip that around, put the bolt through the top, and then put the nut on the bottom. All right, so everything for the lift is put on. The center link tie rod is still loose. I want to throw the tires on there. I tried to align it the best that I could, front to rear, with just using the spindles, but I think throwing the tires on there, since they're a little bit bigger, will give me a better idea. All right, so gotta adjust it a little bit. Not sure exactly how to show how straight they are on the camera, but it seems close enough. Gonna go ahead and get it drop back down, take it out for a little test spin. All right, so I just did the test run, made one adjustment, came back. It's pretty straight. Those tie rod ends are definitely a wear point and probably need to be replaced here soon. A little worn out, a little shaky, but it is lifted. These tires are old, so can't expect too much. So I think today we're gonna tackle getting everything cleaned up over here. A lot of the tools, cables, old parts, toolbox is looking a little messy. And then get all this stuff outside, get it pressure washed again, clean it up a little bit. Got those side skirts over there, those need to get cleaned up. But I'd like to get this body wrapped so that we can get the seats and everything back on. Right now the seat is just kind of sitting on top of the battery and some of the framing. So we'll go ahead and get started on that. So everything is staged out here. Got all the smaller parts sitting on the roof since we got a new one of those. Gonna go ahead and get the pressure washer hooked up. Like I said, this body panels right here are the main thing that I would like to get done, pressure washed, so we can get them wrapped. But everything is definitely dirty, so we'll go ahead and get it done. Everything's been pressure washed. Just moved out here onto the driveway to dry out. Start taking them in. Probably need to do a little bit of extra cleanup on them, but once they're fully dried off, give them a good wipe down, and then probably hit all the black stuff with some spray paint, and then some of the plastic restore on some of the plastic pieces. So everything that had black paint has got a little bit of touch-up spray paint. Obviously it's still drying up a little bit. Probably eventually put some non-skid down on the footrest for the back passengers over here. Still need to get the back seat done up. Got the passenger seat bracketry painted up, and then the roof rails also done up. So I also got these two wires linked up together so I can hook them up to the ignition, so that now I don't have just a bare cable sitting on there. So that was what I was doing to get the headlights on at night. Well, I lost a bunch of audio again, but just a quick update. So toss the caps on the battery to protect those terminals. I did run the battery monitoring cable up to the front, as well as the Navitas motor controller cable up to the front, and I ran them, so I had a little bit extra tucked back there. Ran them up under here, down under the frame, and then up through the hole right there. I did leave a little bit of slack over here just in case I need to pull everything off to do some dash work, which I do plan on eventually doing. So I mounted the motor controller to the plate that the battery came with. It's not the cleanest look ever, but I think it's going to be temporary for now, especially because I'm going to have to get these rivets in and everything for the hood. So right now that's going to work. So now I'm going to move over to the charger. So we got 4 bolt holes right here. I don't think this thing came with any hardware, or really any hardware that fits, but I got 2 holes right there, and I got some extra bolts and washers and nuts that are laying around. I'm gonna go ahead and drill out 2 holes right here just so I can strap the front down a little bit better. And then I got the cable just setting over here for now. Like I said, I got the ratchet strap holding everything down for now, but eventually I'm going to take it out and build a better base for the battery. So this cable running across is just loose for now, but there's the other end of it right there, and we'll hook that up. It's already hooked up to the battery. This guy's all bolted down, so I'm going to go ahead and get the cable ran over to the other side. And then for the actual charger port, we'll just leave that over here until we get everything put back together. Well, of all the things to catch on fire, I was messing around with the old headlight just to see if the connectors right here were the same, which they're not. I pulled the old headlight bulbs out and I had the headlight turned on, started doing something else, and it burnt a hole completely through the headlight assembly and then continued to smoke. So I had to quickly take it off there, but I think we're gonna call it for today. That being said, but here is the other wiring harness, and then got a bunch of more lights. The tail lights are the same shape and everything, so that shouldn't be too bad to just throw those in there. But tomorrow we'll get to replacing that wiring harness so we can get the new headlight put on, and new wiring harness, and the switch on the steering column, and the horn, and all that good stuff. All right. We're going to start today off with the street legal kit install. I'm going to pull this old headlight out of here. Not sure exactly what from this old wiring harness we're going to need. Probably none of it. So I'm just going to pop these off. So we got the headlights, tail lights, turn signals, horn kit, the assembly that goes onto the dash, or sorry, onto the steering column. So we're going to go ahead and get most of this stuff at least mounted up. The install procedures are not the greatest. They're one, written in poor English, two, the quality of the pictures is terrible, and three, it doesn't really make sense. Four, I don't think that everything is actually on there. So kind of just winging it at this point, and hopefully we can get it installed correctly so that everything works. I'm not even sure if this is the right hardware to go up here. Well, it didn't look like there was very much in the kit anyway, so go ahead and throw this on here. Alright, headlights on. So next I'm going to throw on the steering column turn signal switch / headlight, bright light. I think it's got a horn button on here as well. I'm going to loosen these screws, throw the brackets around. These are some really long screws. Seen some people will take the steering wheel off and slide it down, but I think it won't be too bad to just twist these around and tighten them up a little bit. Maybe. I'm sure this is Chinese plastic. Probably will break very easily. Alright, so we got that on there. So it comes with this bracket right here. It's going to clip on right here. And then this right here is just a cover for the wires going down the steering column. So pop the wiring harness in there. And then just slide this around the steering shaft. It's got a little alignment pin on there. That's nice. And then clip this on there. That doesn't look too bad. So now that the steering column is done, you got to get this harness through, and that connects to this harness. We're going to put that in the little cubby hole behind the dash right there. I think I'm just going to drill a hole up through right here. There's a gap on the inside where this fender is, and then I'll just run that up to the cubby. So I got a big step bit. Just going to poke a hole through right here and run the cables through. It's kind of weird angle, so I'm going to use a normal drill bit to get it started. Uh-oh. The drill bit came off. There we go. Alright, that cable's through. So we got this connected right here to the rest of the harness. So now probably going to get started on the main harness so we can hook up right here and then get the rest of this hooked up. These are the two from the headlight coming in. Alright, so I got the harness ran up through this hole right here, connected to this module right here. Again, that's connected to the one on the steering column, and then the other cables run over here. So this one goes to the horn. Probably run that down through here somewhere, put it on the passenger side, and then these two connect to the headlight. So once again, I'm fairly certain that all of this other harness is strictly for body control and lights. The only thing that I don't know is, so this cable comes up right here and runs to the ignition switch, which has the headlight option on there. So I think that when I finish up this wiring harness, that I can get the headlight powered from this switch instead of the other switch that's on here. So it's got this cable right here that does say upgrade headlight power. So I just got to see exactly where all of these go. I think this one is supposed to go to the rocker switch that's provided, but if I can get it to just power straight off this switch that was originally there, then we can just use that. Got the wiring harness ran all the way back here. You can see obviously this wiring harness right here is the new one, so this one's going to run back for the driver's side tail light. This one runs over for the passenger side tail light. It's down there. And then the power and ground right here. So the more and more I get through it, it looks like this whole wiring harness is only for the lights, because this is where I spliced in for the power coming out of the converter, and then the ground wire that runs up to the battery. So I just don't know where these go to, but I think that if I cut it out, I mean, this is the power running in. I think these all run to something on the original wiring harness, but if the power coming in connects to this through this fuse instead of these fuses, then I should be good to run everything off of this switch. Like I said, we got the rocker switch right here, but I think I'm gonna mess with the headlight power to see if I can just run it through this switch right here and get the headlights to turn on. So before I forget what I did, I was being dumb. So this purple wire right here will run into this red, blue, and black harness right here. So I cut that off, tried to hook it up here, didn't work correctly. So I hooked it up to the blue. I guess that one runs to the headlight. So the toggle switch right here with the yellow, blue, and black are for the flashers for your emergency lights. So hook that up. The only thing that's not working fully correctly is the horn. For some reason, it's only gone off once. I tested it, it's getting pretty low voltage, so I might have to mess with that later. I did disconnect over here, so on the original fuse block, whatever you want to call it, I did pull all those just to make sure and ran the cables back. So this entire harness right here is for the body light. So this is the power. I just got some alligator clips run to that, and then over in the ground is also just hooked up to the ground on the battery. But I just wanted to make sure, so I'm probably gonna go through and cut a lot of this old harness out and then do a little bit of rewiring, get this hooked up to the new wiring harness as well as the ground cable that's running from the converter over here, just to clean things up. So assumption's correct. So all this wiring harness was not useful anymore. So I went ahead and cut it out. Got all the new stuff kind of laid out in place. I'm gonna pull everything tight, get it put into the frame rails right here, and then start zip tying everything up. You can see the battery harness is kind of just laying there, so we'll get that pulled tight and then start zip tying everything down. So I got everything for the new wiring harness hooked up. Everything from the old wiring harness is out. I hook these up to the converter. I'll probably throw another zip tie on there just to hold this up a little bit better to the frame rail. But I got everything else zip tied down through the frame. Let's run through there. Zip tied up right here. Still got to mess with the brake cable harness and then also screw the brake cable pad in. Let's see if we can get a good video. I mean, you can tell it's super bright just from this video. I got the flashers turned on right now. It is going to need to get a hole drilled into it, into the dash right here. I think I'm gonna just put it up right there. So this is about the point where I lost all of my audio from every recording. So you can see right here, all the cabling is done. If you go to the back of the cart, you can see that all of the cabling is done back there. Went ahead and threw the emergency light switch up onto the dash and got everything tightened down. It's fully functioning. Then I went ahead and started getting the brake pad screws inserted. As you can see, it's a little bit offset to the right of the brake lever so that it doesn't hit any of the rivets that are installed on the factory brake pad. I went ahead and moved the actual lever a couple times just to make sure that the cables weren't going to get bound up or anything. And then I went ahead and threw some zip ties on there. Again, I moved it a couple times just to make sure that nothing was getting caught up, but wanted to have the wiring a little bit tight so that it didn't drag or get caught on anything as I'm driving down the road. You see right here, you can see the original connector on the horn is the clear type. I went ahead and ended up replacing that with a pink style connector, ran them down through the porthole right here and got it screwed up into the frame. As you can see on the left hand side of that bracket, that's a self-tapper screw and the pink connector up top. That was my issue with the horn not working correctly. Body's thrown back on. Gonna get some rivets at least put down there, and then probably up here around the dash just to hold it in place. And then I got these two down here. I'm gonna throw the other two in over here on this side, on the passenger side, just to get the body held into place. I might throw these down here across the bottom. I still got to do a little bit more cleaning on here, at least wipe it down. But I think that this will probably be good at least to start the wrap kit. I threw the seat on there just because I'm sure I won't finish all of this today, so we can at least get the golf cart out and do some more riding around. But for now, at least we'll get a couple rivets in there to hold the body panels in place. Alright, so I went ahead and put the seat covers on for the main seat, and also did the backrest right there. I'm gonna cut those straps just so they're not dangling down. Then now I'm gonna jump into doing the wrap. Probably not gonna record that just because it's probably gonna be terrible, but there's also a bunch of videos online to show you how to do it. So I'm gonna go ahead and get started on that. This is the portion of the video where I lost all of my audio. So if you look on the top right here, you can see it's not perfect. Getting everything pressed in and squeegeed out was pretty difficult for me. Like I said, this is my first time doing any sort of wrap kit. So it turned out okay, but I knew from the start that it wasn't going to be perfect, as I've done window tint in the past and it turned out terrible. So it's probably good enough for now. Eventually I will be putting a body kit onto this cart, so I'm not too worried about it. So it'll do for now. Alright, this morning we're going to start off with getting the rear passenger framing all put back on. So I'm going to go ahead, I got my jack out so I can lift this up into place. I did get some new stainless steel hardware for this, just because the old ones were a little bit rusted out, and I want to prevent that from happening in the future. Understanding that there is still quite a bit of surface rust and paint chippage on this, but at least the hardware will hold it into place. One thing I didn't know was that stainless steel can get galled up if it gets too hot, and apparently using the impact on those bolts definitely galled them up, because I got 3 of them that are stuck right now, so I'll probably end up having to cut those out. So I did end up taking these roof brackets and swapping the front onto the rear and then putting a spacer up front just to lower the roof down a little bit so that I could fit it into the garage. It also looks a lot better being dropped down. All right, just a quick update because my phone ran out of storage and then died shortly afterwards. I got the roof put on, got it tightened down a little bit now. We've been out riding a little bit, threw the back cushion on, just put a towel over it. One of the tires was low, so I had to fill that up. And I went ahead and threw the windshield on because the top was a little sway, so went ahead and put that on to stabilize it, but everything's working just fine now. So the day has arrived. The tires and wheels are finally here, so I'm gonna go ahead and get those opened up and throw it onto the cart. Those things look pretty good. All right, so it did say to air them up to 30 PSI and then back them down to 18. So I'm gonna go ahead and get them all pulled out, get them aired up, and then we'll start installing them. Lug nuts. All right, we got them all aired up. Gonna throw the valve stem caps back on, get the golf cart jacked up, pop the old tires and rims off, and throw these guys on there. It does say maximum of 30 miles an hour for these tires, which may or may not be a problem because I know I've already had the golf cart up to 37 miles an hour, but I do think that it should be fine because obviously the original tires weren't rated for 37 miles an hour either. I'm hoping to see maybe 40 miles an hour once we get these on there based off of the larger diameter of the tires, but I guess we'll see. All right, let's get this thing jacked up. Pop these lug nuts loose real quick. Yeah, I'm digging that black, or sorry, I guess, yeah, black, purple, and gold or bronze or whatever color you want to call it. I didn't think that I would like the original EZGO placard on the front there, but kind of matches up rather nicely. Got chrome lug nuts, which I wish they were maybe black or something, but I'm sure there's some sort of torque spec for these, but I'm gonna get them on there tight and then go ride it around and probably come back and torque them up a little bit. All right, front's all done for now. Oh yeah, that looks much better. All right, let's get the back done. All right, let's get it dropped down, get all these lug nuts tightened up, and then maybe take it for a test drive. All right, so I just want to do a quick shoot of it with all installed. Looking at the alignment, I think it might still be a little bit toe out on these tires. Now that I have the larger tires on there, I can at least do some measuring and see how far we are out. But looks pretty good. As you can see, I also put in the floor mat, showed up today. Gotta get the side skirts on there with the little aluminum kick plates, so I'll get those on. Still got to do something up here with the front, just from where we screw up the wrap. Like I said, I'm not a professional wrapper whatsoever, so got some ideas to cover that up / fix it. And then yeah, I think we'll probably take a little break from it and just ride it around for a little bit. All right, so first test drive is done with the new tires and wheels on it. It rode actually extremely well, much better than it did with those old golf course wheels and tires right there. The only issue that I really had was it's too tall to fit in the other garage now. And that's going to be the home for it, because I'm going to designate this one for all the motorcycles and stuff. And the golf cart is going to live over there in the attached garage. But overall, satisfied. These are some Amazon wheels and tires, and they did pretty good. So next, I think we'll get the floorboard done, get all these side skirts put back on, and then start tying up some loose ends, and should be done for a while. I did get a distribution block with some fuses on it to clean up some cabling inside. Take this old, oh, yeah. Let's see, can I see that? Yep, so I'm gonna take that off right there and then run some wires over there. Hopefully clean it up a little bit. And yeah, it'll be done for a little bit, and we'll just ride it around and enjoy it. All right, so I lied. It does fit in this garage. I was gonna lower the roof down. I did actually buy some new spacers for it, because the back is 4 inches, front is 2.5, but all I had to do was raise the garage door up. So it was all the way up on the track. All I did was raise the bracket up to the next hole on there, and then I adjusted the closing point, and it fits. It barely hits on this back rail as it's coming in, but it's ever so slightly, and that point up there is rather flexible, so it just knocks it and then pulls right in. So we got to be careful pulling it in and out, but for now it's in here and frees up some room over in the other garage. For our next upgrade for the golf cart, I'm going to be swapping out this windshield. So over here, I've already unboxed. Got a new tinted windshield. Comes with the new brackets, and then also some rubber stoppers for it. You can see on here, so the old windshield, everything's a little cracked up. It slid down. It's resting on top of the wrap kit right there. And then it's also missing the rubber stoppers that go into these holes right here. So it should be a pretty quick install. I think somebody just screwed in some holes on there to put some bolts in to hold it on a little bit better. So we'll go ahead and get this one ripped off of here and get the new one installed. You can see right there, like I said, these are pretty beat up already, so it's definitely a good thing when I swap it out. Also, the new one is tinted, so it'll probably look a little bit better. So the install for these is pretty easy. all you got to do is attach, in accordance with the instructions, attach the rails that attach on the side of the windshield and then place it onto the cart. What I'm going to do, I'm going to install these rubber stoppers first. So I'm going to put bolt through, then we got the rubber stopper washer, then a washer on the back. This will make it a little bit easier just to set the windshield down on it, and then I'll come back and tighten everything up. All right, next step, just like I mentioned before, I'm going to throw these onto the side of the windshield itself, and then we'll throw it onto the golf cart. All right, let's check the fitment on the rails, and then we'll go ahead and throw this up there. All right, so I pushed it a little bit further down on there. Got it lined a little bit better. Let's see if we can get this to set up here enough to where we can push it in. All right, so now I'm going to pull the plastic off, see how it looks. This is supposed to be the tinted version. It's definitely not the most satisfying protective film removal I've ever heard. All right, so there it is. Doesn't look too tinted, but I guess it is slightly darker than the original, which was completely clear. But it's definitely a lot less scratched up than the original one was. So that's good. And like I said, it's not tearing up the wrap kit that was right there. So it's worth it in my book. Let's see how it looks looking out the front. Oh, you can definitely tell. All right. Well, that's done now. Only thing that really we're working on now is getting some trim to go around here, kind of like a fender flare, but not one of those gaudy ones. Just something to clean up the edges. And then also I got some new drum rebuild kits. Or actually I ordered a whole new drum for the rear of the golf cart because this thing definitely does not stop very well. The only thing that I've been using is the regen to get this thing to slow down. All right, one project down, 100 more to go. All right, so we got this piece marked out for the passenger rear seat bottom. Gonna go ahead and get it cut out. I know this is not the best tool. I'd probably normally use my circular saw, but I wanted to give this thing a shot to see how well it did. So now that we got this cut down in size, went ahead and just threw some clamps on here. Gonna raise it up and mark the holes for the other side so I can drill them out and put the threads inside of it, and then we'll go ahead and throw the cover back on. All right, so we got all these holes marked out on here. So I'm gonna go ahead and drill them out slightly bigger than the size of this bolt. Then we'll go ahead and hit these in with a hammer afterwards, start putting it back together. So all of our holes have been drilled Add these extra 2 holes here on the side for some drainage, as the previous one had it on there. So now we're going to take these, it's called a T-nut, take those, just hammer them down into all the holes so it has a nice place to bolt into. All right, so we got all these in. Went ahead and threw the cushion back on top. Does fit perfectly, obviously, because we measured it before. I was thinking about sanding these corners down, but I think I'm going to leave them because they'll be on the bottom. But we'll go ahead and get the cover thrown back on and then get it bolted up. So I did end up cutting the corners of this just because with this new piece of wood and the original cover not being on there, it seemed like it was a lot easier to get this to stretch over the wood and the foam. So went ahead and threw the new cover on. I got everything moved inside because it started torrential downpouring. But we're gonna go ahead and get the bolts put in it and get it mounted up. So there it is, rear seat is reinstalled. It's not the prettiest thing ever, and one of the bolt holes didn't exactly line up, so I might have to adjust that by a little bit, but at least I can have some rear passengers on here now. All right, so this is going to be the final walkthrough of the golf cart in the build series. Again, just covering a couple of odds and ends that haven't been covered in any previous content. So you can see here on the edge of the trim, so I did put some just normal automotive trim on there to clean up the edges, again, because my wrap job was not that great. And then also I think makes it look a little bit better. Over here on the side, I still plan on putting some, essentially some plastic or rubber fender well type of material on, just to clean that up. Obviously you can still see some of the yellow that was on there before, so something to hold the wrap down a little bit better. And then also I think it would look good having some sort of fender well on there. And the fender wells that they sell for this cart, don't like really any of them. So I did throw these mirrors on there because it was pretty difficult going down the road trying to see any cars that might be riding up on me. Again, this cart will do 35 miles an hour, but some of the people driving around here are definitely doing over 35 miles an hour, so it's nice to know that they are coming. Up here, so I did throw on a LED light bar. It is a little bit difficult to see just with the stock headlight down here. It does work, but having a little bit of extra light while I'm driving around at night is definitely pretty nice. You see up here on the roof, so the spacers that are right here, I think that's about, I think it's around 3/4 of an inch of a spacer. I did lower the roof down a little bit, and the brackets that are right here are the original brackets that went onto the front of the cart. I did get some straps to hold up the speaker right there, so I didn't want to spend $600 on a nice fancy golf cart style speaker, so I just went ahead and stuck the JBL up there, and it seems to do just fine. Did put one of my 12-volt flashlight holders right there, just in case we're riding around and need some extra light outside of the LED light bar. So this is all the seats done up. Still need to do a little bit of work on that. One of the bolts did end up coming out. Got the reflector put on the rear. And the trailer hitch right here, I still got to do some work to that. I put that on. The kit that I bought didn't exactly fit, so I tried to make it work, and then with the cheap Chinese bolts that it came with, I did end up snapping one of those bolts off, so I need to pull that off and replace it. So down here, I did end up changing out the factory fuse box to just put my own fuse box in. So everything's a little bit, all the wires are a little bit more cleaned up and looks a little bit nicer, and everything's labeled, so I know what I'm looking at and which cables go where. But yeah, that's pretty much going to do it for now. So once I get the trailer hitch finished up, I'll probably throw a ball onto that and then try to move the trailer around just to get it out of the backyard. but for just riding around the neighborhood purposes, this is pretty much going to do it. So that's going to do it for the golf cart transformation. Thanks for sticking around. It was definitely a fun project. Definitely glad that I ended up going with this build on the TXT cart instead of buying a new cart, mainly because it was a lot of fun to do, and then also with the availability and reliability of getting some parts for an EZGO golf cart, I think it's going to be much better than buying a cheaper Chinese golf cart. So definitely a fun project. I definitely have some more videos that I'm probably going to publish for the golf cart once I do some more things. I know I want to get one at least for operating the trailer hitch and having it pull around the trailer just to see if the golf cart can handle it. But for now, that's going to do it. Hammer Down Creations out.